Hello and welcome to the Rebel Ballerina Show. And I am your host, Lisa Loree, the Rebel Ballerina. It goes, to reason. So I hope you are having a really great day. I am. So it's always so nice to be able to say, I'm having a good day. Isn't that awesome when you have a day where everything just seems to come together and work smoothly? It's like, wow, does that even exist? I remember the days where I was like, that doesn't exist. Ever. I'm sure it did in hindsight. I'm sure I had at least a moment or two when things were working, but there were so many other moments. And those of you out there who are moms, you know what I'm talking about. But one thing, here's my thing for today. One thing that really can throw a wrench in that works is when you go through the drive-through. Now, the drive-through, I remember when Wendy's started doing a drive-through. And except for In-N-Out, which has always been a drive-through, and I think there might have been one or two other places, but not a big national thing, right? Wendy's was the first to start with the drive-through. And I was a kid, and I remember because my mom was like so thrilled because we could just drive through on the way to the studio, which was really nice to not have to get out and all of that. And ever since the success nationwide with Wendy's, everything now has a drive-through. And on occasion, if you have seen in the news, every once in a while, there are those who try to create a drive-through in a restaurant that isn't a drive-through, but they try to drive through it anyway. That's not what we're really talking about here. A genuine drive-through, and that has been a very successful model for businesses to be able to serve more customers, more fast, efficiently, more quickly, I should say. Use some grammar. Anyway, here's the thing though. I love convenience. I don't know about you, but convenience is splendid. It is so wonderful to have convenience. And I know I've talked about this before. There's a drawback because we are conveniencing ourselves to death in many ways. But I am not going to go without electricity and indoor plumbing and running hot water and a washer and dryer and my dishwasher and my stove and oven and my refrigerator and air conditioning and heating and my car and all the stuff that goes with all of that because I like convenience. And that's just the day and age we live, right? So I'm not saying we shouldn't have convenience. I'm not saying that at all. I am saying, and I have said previously, we need to be careful about how we take care of ourselves amongst all those conveniences because the convenience actually turns into more chaos because we do have more time on our hands. So we're like, how can I fill that time? And it's usually with all kinds of stuff and chaos. Anyway, that's not really my rant, but convenience is part of it. So recently I was at my favorite Starbucks where I write my book, and I do in other areas too, but this is pretty much the place I go. And it's fun because it's kind of like, Norm on Cheers when everybody knows your name. We have that at this Starbucks, and it's super fun. And so much so that the order is already done. My typical order is already done before I've even walked through the door. There's one gal who's so splendid and so fun and super fun energy. And she literally sees my car and she's made it. So cute. Love her. Anyway, so the thing is that there was a struggle. These poor baristas were like just cranking. And one of them came over afterwards and was just like, oh my God, working the drive-through window. And he's like, there was one car with 11 orders, followed by a car with 10 orders, followed by a car with 7 orders. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm going to give a definition of what the drive-through is for and should be like, how it should be utilized. Okay, there are no rules. And no, businesses are not going to put rules on, because I had that idea, and Jim, who is a businessman, said, yeah, they're not going to do that. My idea was 4 items or meals tops in the drive-thru. But he's like, no, not going to happen, not for business. However, if we could implement a societal nicety, how about courtesy? Common courtesy, and maybe even just plain old common sense. I mean, come on. Really? You're going to back up the line with your freaking huge order in a drive-thru? See, that's when I say, come on. Get off of your lazy butt, walk inside, and put your order in there. Because while everybody's waiting, there's this huge long line of cars piling up, and you can't back out of the drive-thru once you're in it, and a lot of them are very long. Know what I'm saying? So here is what my opinion is, and it's my show, so I get to say my opinion. It is that if you're going to be in the drive-thru, be courteous, for one thing. If you have more than 4 orders, because maybe you do have 4 people total in the car, and each person wants something. Okay, I get that. But if you have more than that, or you're the office gopher, that is not what the drive-thru is for. The drive-thru is for, maybe I can just drive through, get a quick, in this case, I'll use Starbucks because that's where this thing happened. But this is expanded to every drive-thru. Think of meals, Mickey D's, blah, blah, blah. So it's for that quick, if I can just run through real fast, don't have to get out. I'm going from here to there and drive through. Good. It is also for the disabled. It's not so easy to get out of the car and get the walker or the wheelchair and all of that just to have a coffee, right? So it is absolutely for them. Moms with small kids, right? Oh my gosh, that's one of the reasons I love the drive-thru, because clicking the kids in and out of those car seats is arduous. And it's just, and they're like, squirmy and usually screaming in some way, shape, or form. Something's always going on. So here's my antidote. When there's someone who is holding up the line, maybe you're behind them and you happen to hear that they're giving a, many item order, then I feel that as a mom, you should be completely free to take your kids and put them in their car and let them hear the clamoring, right? Because your kids are hungry and they want what they, are anxious for, and they're going to let you know about it. How long is it going to take? Why is this taking so long? When do we get to pull forward? Why this, that, and the other? And right? The only other option, of course, for us moms is to take the kids out and bring them into the building. May not be so great of an alternative either. Especially with said whining and complaining and if you're in a hurry and it's hurried and harried, right? So that's one of my suggestions. I think that would be hilarious. Oh my gosh, I think that would be hilarious. Can you imagine some rude person puts in an order for 15 meals or drinks or whatever, and everyone is sitting behind them in their vehicles. Oh, and that's just real eco-friendly, isn't it? Okay, so let's get into that too. Anyway, you can tell I have had experience with this, and I'm fed up with rude people in the freaking drive-thru. So I think it would be hilarious to have that happen. Have some mom unclick her kids and say, guess what, buddy? Since you're making us wait for you for all of these orders, you get to listen to my kids. Bye. And then go sit in your car again and wait. Oh my word, maybe things would change if people thought about what's going on in other people's cars, you know? Now, granted, maybe that person is in a huge hurry too. They've got their own thing going on. But seriously? Huge orders in the drive-thru? No, you go inside. Okay, so now I'm on to you folks. Okay, don't pick the one that's disabled to be your gopher. How's that? Okay, let's just be upfront and completely honest. Don't do that, because they definitely should be used in the drive-thru if they want to. They don't have to, but that is a really good purpose for a drive-thru, is so that they don't have to deal with a walker, a scooter, or wheelchair, or something like that. So don't give them the whole big long list just because they can go through the drive-thru. Come on, that's not what I'm talking about. And you know it. No, this is about being reasonable. Common courtesy, common sense. Come on, folks. It was just amazing to see the chaos going on for these poor baristas. Now, obviously, they still have to make the drinks if someone's inside. But when you have people stacking up in the drive-thru, there's an added amount of and you could always pre-order for pickup. That's useful. That's very useful. That was a note from my producer. Very good idea. You could do that. You could call in and then give them a fair amount of time to get it done. Don't call it in from the parking lot or the drive-thru. If you've got that many, you still need to give it some time. So don't call in once you're like 2 cars away from the drive-thru and you still have 11 orders. But no. Park and go on inside. You know, it's your steps. Take your steps. Count your steps. So park, get off your butt, take your steps, go in, stand, and wait. While you're standing, you could do some little movements, you know. You could even do some little micro plies and get your tushy working up and your inner thighs going for you. You could be working on your abs while you're standing, pulling in your abs, making sure your posture is nice and tall. These are all little tricks that you can do while you're waiting for your 11 drinks, right? Instead of holding up the line and sitting there like this behind your steering wheel. So, see, there are many advantages to just going inside when you have a large order for the drive-thru. Otherwise, keep it simple. And if you have a super complicated drink, like there was this one, oh my gosh, my friend there showed me the list. It was like every single thing that you could add and topping and this and that. And there were like 20 items. Okay, I'm talking about that too. Don't make it so complicated, for crying out loud. And then if you can imagine, multiply that by 7, 10, or 11. Are you kidding me? In the drive-thru. That's my whole point. You can do whatever complicated thing you want, but come inside. Don't hold up everybody else in the drive-thru. It's designed to drive through, right? Not drive and park and stay. That's why we have Sonic. If you want to do that, then drive up to Sonic, park, don't get out of your car. They do come to you with your order. Well, you say it into the microphone and then they come. Used to be, though, it was really fun. They would come out on the roller skates to your car, take your order because there was no microphone, and then go back in, then come out with your food, and they had a tray thingy that you'd hook onto your car just for nostalgia. I don't know. Some of you might not even know what the hell I'm talking about. Some of you might even be going, roller skates? What are those? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's like the phone being connected to the wall. That was a thing. That was our thing for a very long time until cell phones came along. So get out there, have a fun day, place your order, but be very cognizant and aware of what you're doing in terms of, are you holding up the line? See, I have a personal thing, and it's because I'm a fawn. It really is, because I don't want to make people have to wait because of me. I feel bad. And I feel guilty. If I'm in the way, like sometimes even while I'm driving, people probably think I'm kind of crazy, but it's because I'm trying to get out of the way of the guy behind me, because I believe in getting out of the way of someone who wants to go faster than me. That's kind of unique these days, it seems. I don't want to be the cause of somebody else's bad day, so to speak. Now, granted, we're all in charge of our own day. And there can be some crappy things that happen, big or small. And how we choose to deal with that is really our responsibility. But that's a whole nother topic. But I don't like to be the cause of someone else's hardship. I just don't. I don't want to be in the way. So I can guarantee you, I can make this pledge. I will not be going to the drive-thru and putting in multiple orders. Usually it's just me, or if I have a passenger, maybe 2, up to 4. That's as much as it would maybe be, depending on the circumstances. Otherwise, I'll be parking and going inside, and we would all be going inside. So if you're gonna go with the order per passenger rule, I am talking about your typical sedan. Okay, don't pull up with a tour bus. Well, it's 1 per passenger. Yeah, and you got 50 passengers. Come on. Or even those big old vans. Holy cow, there are 8 people in there. That's not what I'm talking about. Be reasonable. So now I have to follow up from last week. Last week I talked about doing eye exercises during stoplight moments, right? And I did do some. I have to confess, it didn't happen every day, but I did remember to do some. So I'm getting a little bit better. I will get better this coming week at making it more of a habit, because that's what these good things take. I mean, we develop habits, bad habits. How did that happen? Well, we just kept doing it over and over and over. So the same thing applies. And for me, it's just a matter of remembering to do this good thing over and over and over. And you probably have the same issue. So it's somehow so much easier to do bad stuff or unhealthy things or the easy way, right? Because it's just easier, more convenient. There's that convenient thing again. It's not a bad thing. Convenience is not a bad thing, but we do have to be careful. So enjoy your day. If you're going to go to lunch and you need to go to the drive-thru, that's fine, but be courteous. Have some common sense. And deciding whether you should just go through the drive-thru or maybe go inside. But whatever it is you've got on your plate today, no pun intended, have fun. That's the biggest thing. Start having much more fun in life. I am having so much more fun in life. I can hardly even describe it, which is tough because I'm trying to write this book and I need to figure out how to describe it because it's pretty amazing. And I don't know, maybe because I had not experienced it myself. I'd read it from other people and it was like, yeah, that's nice for them. I didn't think it could happen to me, but it did. It has, and it continues to do so. And so trying to bring that to life is kind of tough to really explain it, but it's amazing. It's amazing to see how good life really is. I'm not even going to say can be because it is, but it's also what we make of it. Life itself is good. How we deal with it, I don't know. That's what we choose every single day, whether we know it or not. And so that's a big one. Maybe I'll do a whole thing on that because that's a big topic. That's pretty much what my whole book is about. What I used to think and believe and how that worked out, not, and the changes and now what my philosophy is in life and how much better it really is. It's just amazing. So I'm going to sign off because, of course, talking about food again, now I'm hungry. And it's time to go get lunch. Where I'm going, there is no drive-through, so I guarantee you I'll be going inside. Hopefully you will have a super good day. Choose to have a super good day. And then I will see you next week.